Question number 3, we will begin with Mr. Thompson, and it deals with foreign policy. What, in your opinion, are the most serious foreign policy challenges facing the United States today, and what would you do about them?
Well, obviously we know that we have some situations with Iran and all the different upheaval that's in the Middle East right now. A lot of those things it creates such a vacuum that I think it's going to hurt us in the long run more than it's going to help us. I think that the key for the Middle East, as far as what I see, is that the only ally we have in the Middle East is Israel. And I personally don't understand why we continue to try to hook our wagon to countries that despise us. You're not going to force or help or encourage or lead countries that absolutely have no desire for our kind of democracy, for our kind of republic. They're not going to do it. They're never going to do it. And why am I sending money overseas? That's one of the reasons I put in the back of my card, I believe in cutting foreign aid. I don't believe in giving money to enemies. What we need to do is be in full support of Israel, and if Israel feels like they need to do something to protect their interests, then we need to support them. We'll support them by machinery, whatever it is they need. But I'm just one that, it reminds me of Solomon. Solomon did the same thing. He went and created all these deals with all these foreign kings, and what got him in the end was total destruction. Well, it seems like we're headed that way because of all the ways it's draining us as a country. We can't even help our own people because we got all this foreign aid stuff going to helping our enemies. So that just doesn't make sense to me. I would cut the foreign aid.
It's something I've lived for a few decades now. There are short, medium, and long-term challenges. Short-term is the nuclear Iran. How do we solve that? We stand with Israel. We impose a complete embargo, blockade on that country, much more severe than what's currently the case. We have to get the Europeans on board. Financially and militarily, they're almost incapable of doing that now. There's an ongoing war with killings of certain scientists, Stuxnet and Flame, the latest viruses have been part of that as well. If it comes to it this fall, I think we take out the nuclear program kinetically or physically, very heavy. The midterm threat is destabilize Pakistan. Again, so you've got the crazy mullahs that are taking over there as well. They already have a nuclear arsenal. The solution to that is cozying up more closely with India. A lot more to it than that, but that's a short solution here in 90 seconds. And then the long-term challenge is China. And how we deal with China is making sure our economy is strong so that we have friends and allies globally, that we maintain relationships with Japan, South Korea, Vietnam. Again, India is a big player, and trying to keep Russia from creating too strong an alliance with China, which is what they're pursuing now.
90 seconds is kind of tough. I think we should probably go to that middle table because they're solving all the world's problems there. But it's kind of like the coffee shop. But, when you talk about the struggles that we face foreign, I think a lot of them maybe start here at home because of our dependency on foreign oil. We're dependent on an unstable area of the world that's always been unstable since the times of the Bible. So we need to correct that. We also have our ally in Israel, and if you're like me and you believe the Bible that he who blesses Israel, God will bless, and he who doesn't bless Israel will receive his curse. So I think we always continue to stand behind Israel. And then we have to think about the debt. How much of our country is owned by foreign countries who really don't have our best interests at heart? So we've got some serious problems that started home that have carried abroad. And then we have to deal with the nuclear threats of those who want to wipe us off the face of the earth. Some challenging times that this country faces, but we need to have people who have the vision that they are willing to take the stand to keep America the strength that it is and keep the American dream alive.
I'm going to go in a different direction because I think the fiscal destabilization of Europe is the greatest threat, not only to the United States and to Europe, but also to the world as a whole. The off-balance sheet items that are coming up in the next 5 to 7 years in Europe are so tremendous, as well as our own, that they threaten to destabilize not only Europe, but the entire rest of the world. We saw what happened when the Weimar Republic in the 20s went through that exact destabilization process. And there was a young corporal named Adolf Hitler who took advantage of that, and we saw what the world encompassed with Adolf Hitler control. So I would say if Europe cannot get control of its debt, and because of our banks and the intermingling of the money and the ties and the different funding, I think that that is a very real threat, and is a threat that's going to materialize far quicker than anyone thinks is coming up very quickly. Thank you.
There are three areas, I think, that our foreign policy needs to be addressed. And the first one is the borrowing of our children and grandchildren's future from other countries. The bulk of our debt that we borrow from a foreign country is from China. China is a communist country. It suppresses freedom of religion, and it suppresses freedom of speech. The Bible says in Proverbs that the debtor will be slave to the lender. We have become the debtor to the lender, China. That is not good for America. That is not in our best interest. That is an aspect of our foreign policy that needs to be changed. Secondly is our oil policy. We have for decades now made the Middle East rich, buying their oil, but we have more than enough resources in our country to provide our own energy resources. And by so doing, we would spur our economic growth in this country and solve a lot of our downturn that we are now facing. That, again, needs to be changed. It will not be changed with a Barack Obama in the White House. He has not only increased the buying of foreign oil, he has stopped the production here in America. That is a policy at home that needs to change, but it's tied to our foreign policy. And finally, I want to talk about Article 1, Section 8 of our Constitution. We have sent troops around the world for decades now without a vote of Congress. I think if you send me to Congress, you will want me to vote before I allow the President to send troops around the world for peacekeeping missions without a vote of the Congress. That's what the Constitution says in Article 1, Section 8. Let's hold the President's feet to the fire, whether he's a Democrat or Republican. Thank you.